A couple of things. Sorry to interrupt. I'm nice and loud there. Let me pull that back a little bit. If you haven't signed in, that will get us our quorum. I believe we have enough in attendance. Not sure if we're online yet or not. Tony, are we streaming yet? Not yet. That's fine. We will be online here shortly as well, and trying something new with that. So praying that all goes well. But sign-in sheets are out there. If this is the first time you've attended a voters meeting at King of Kings, and a couple of you have already done it, but if it's first time, our sign-in book is up here at the lectern, that we'd have you come up and sign your name there as well. And then there are packets out there. Looks like most of you are already busy digesting all 44 pages of the annual packet. And if you have it memorized, great. If not, no worries. Packet with the blue cover is our annual meeting. There is another that is just being sent out today. The white packet that says Small Beginnings on the front is a continued part of our discussion with the proposed future early childhood learning center. That's still very much in discussion, and we wanted to continue that discussion and share some more information there. Nothing to vote on that today, but the other packet has on the inside cover the agenda, minutes from last year. We'll be voting on those minutes. That's pages probably 2 through 4, I believe. Some financials and statistics. Pages 8 or 7 through like 28 are the ministry reports, then the budget, and finally the last 3 pages are a letter from Synod about delaying conventions by a year, district and synod, because of COVID and the challenges that has caused across our synod. Some of that, all of the blue packet has been out online. Hopefully you've had a chance to see some of that, possibly. About for the last month, we've updated as we had numbers accordingly with the budget and such, but this is a first year that we've had things out there for a month or so in advance. So hopefully that's been helpful if you've had a chance. If not, that's okay. You can look at it today. I know we've had paper copies out here at church too, and some of those have been taken over the last few weeks as well. So I'll stop talking and let you review for a little bit, and then once we get folks online, are we online, Tony? All right. Something new as well. So hopefully, again, if you haven't signed in, please do that. I believe we have our quorum number, looks like probably about 43. I haven't signed in yet myself either. So 43 is our quorum. We went with 2019 attendance numbers. Last year was obviously difficult to tell actuals. We could count who are in the seats here, but how many are watching online. So for those who are online, I'll speak specifically to you. Welcome. And we'll get started here in a few minutes. Hopefully at home, you may be looking at multiple devices, or maybe you're just holding an iPad or a phone or a mobile device in your hand. You'll have opportunity to vote electronically, and I believe we have a good setup with that. I'm sorry we don't have tech people to come and hold everyone's hand. I'd be one of those probably that would need some of that help. So hopefully that will go smooth and seamless in your households or wherever you're watching for those who are voting members. I will say to those online, Tony, do we have that sign-in available for them? Okay. For those who are online, you'll have the first link that if you're connected through our website, it's under the Events tab, kingofkingscr.org, our website. You can go under the Events tab at the top of our website, and you'll see 2021 Voters Meeting. If you go there, it might also be in the chat section of either the YouTube or Facebook Live. If you click on that link, I will give you an opportunity. It's up and going. I'm getting the thumbs up. All right. Oh, we have 15 signed on. Well, there we go, already. Very good. So glad you joined us, and there'll be a few more opportunities. Most of the voting online and then even in person. There's 7 things we'll be asking for a vote. Many are a simple yes or no. There is a slate of governing board candidates that is a multiple choice. I think that's your only kind of multiple choice. All the others are yes or no. Do you approve or not? So 19 signed in. There we go. Now I have the... We are at a quorum. That's good. We'll make that official here in a few moments after we call to order. But it sounds like we have 45 signed in the worship center, and 19 is the number I saw a few moments ago online. And we will monitor comments or questions that may happen with those 19 households. That may include some couples or families. So if there are multiple people in your household online that need to sign in, you'll have to click on that each time for each voting member. Any other questions or comments at the moment, since a lot of this is new? All right, keep reading.
(12:01), I am going to call this meeting to order. I understand that we have at least 45, and I see a few more people signing up in the back, and 19, or there more online? 24. Okay, behind me. Oh, it says it right there. Okay, well, you got to love technology, don't you? If nothing else, as much as this pandemic and some of the requirements are irritating the heck out of me, it is forcing some changes that ultimately we're going to use for positive in the future. So as much as I kind of wonder what God has in mind, I won't say pull out of his hat, but he's got plans that we can't see, and you just never know how that's going to go. So I'm officially calling this meeting to order. Pastor, I'd like to hand it off to you, please, for opening devotion.
And on, hello, test, 1, 2, 3. Page 7. I'll take this off of your bulletin or your handout. Has 4 bullet points. Opening devotion. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we bow to you and ask you that you would use this word to guide our hearts, to also guide our thoughts, and to guide our words. So, Lord, please be with us as only you can. May you be glorified in all we say and we do, not just today, but beyond. In your name and to your glory. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4 tells us, be completely humble and gentle. And I'm just going to read these without much comment. Be patient, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And then from Ephesians again, picking it up at verse 29. Colossians, then Ephesians. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation always be full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. And then Ephesians 4:29 and following. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. And then lastly, Colossians again. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive how? As the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. And all I'll say to all of these admonitions and words of encouragement certainly can sound like law, but it's gospel because we get to. We are privileged to behave this way as God's children, as Christ modeled for us. Amen.
We on? There we go. Pastor, thank you very much. As my wife reminds me on a regular basis, I am terrible to introductions, so we're going to start this over again. I am Steve Lesh, the chairman of the governing board here at King of Kings, and the governing board is scattered all over, so we're going to try to see if I can get everybody to stand up to recognize who they are. So quickly, I see Janet up front is our treasurer, Janet Prophet, Don Church in the red in the back. I see Kathy Epley high in the window booth working with our online, and again, we're all learning real time. Where else am I missing? Are these masks? Where's Dan? Oh, Dan Henry's here somewhere, and Deanna Glass right here. Michelle Nuring is with her father, who has had many health issues. She is not here today. Oh, Dan's on an airplane, that's right. He's actually doing this real time. So I'm not sure if he's disobeying all the online rules in the airplane or not, but theoretically he was paying attention up there as well. So, what's that? Got it. All right. So anyway, that is our group. So this we've already opened here, Pastor, with your opening devotion. Our roll call. We've had a few folks already, new members, prospective new members, sign in. Are there any others that would like to become a voting member? And unfortunately, we don't have a way to do this online yet.
We have 51 signed in.
All right.
In here. We have 35 online.
No kidding. Excellent.
86, so we need our
I'm curious. I'd mentioned to a few folks that are out of town, way out of town in Texas and Florida, and I'm hoping there's a few of those folks as well that normally wouldn't be here anyway. So this is actually an exciting addition to our ministry here. Alrighty, so if that's the case, next step here is minutes, which are published right after this agenda for today from last year's meeting. Hopefully you've had a time to read those. They've been online for the last couple of weeks. The governing board makes as chairman of the governing board, they make the recommendation to approve the minutes as they are written and submitted. I need a second, please. Second, all righty here. Do I have any discussion here, questions, discussion regarding the minutes that were published from 2020's voters meeting? Anything online? And sorry for the delay. We're trying to make sure we're doing this both real time and online. It looks like there are no questions, so what we need to do then, and this is going to be a slight delay because everybody online will get a chance to vote as well. We're assuming this will be an easy one, but we do want to allow them a chance to vote. So all those in favor, locally, I think we can just do this with a show of hands, so we don't have to talk aloud. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hands. I'm sorry. Is there anybody opposed? Let the record show that I see all approve and no opposed. We'll give the online folks a chance to officially vote.
One quick online tutorial. Again, if you click on that second link, for those who are online, the 35, the second link will pop up and say, do you approve of the annual meeting minutes from January 12th, 2020, last year's meeting minutes? It'll give you opportunity to click yes or no. If you do that and submit that vote, we'll wait about 30 seconds or so and make sure that gets in. There we go. So at least 24 of you have voted on that.
And by the way, I did not also put my great things because I can't personally do this. So between Tony and Jonathan, getting this online voting set up is, I think, pretty impressive. So nice job, you two.
Oh, we're growing. Tony, thank you. So there is a slight delay, but it looks like most of you hopefully are figuring out. That'll be, as we go on, there's about 5 more things that many of you, again, you'll click on those, and it's hopefully that simple. 29, hey, we're getting almost 100% here. So
That's pretty cool. I like this. That was
if you haven't figured it out, I feel your frustration. We do. But hopefully that will happen here shortly. So
the plan was to allow a few minutes to get that done, and so far that's holding up very well. So
use that same method.
all right, so we are going to consider the minutes from last year's meeting approved. All right, moving on. Treasurer's report, which Pastor gave a little bit of a preview at the end of the last service. Janet, you're up to bat, please.
This also is in your packet that you got. As much as I kind of feared that we would really end up with a bad year, again, thank you to everybody. Okay. Okay. Concerns about money, we've talked about more than once during the year, but just a huge thank you because we are in a positive status for the whole year. We had several months this summer when people weren't, coming or weren't giving their funds, that we were a little bit under by the month, but never by a huge amount. So surplus for the year, $55,312.81. I don't know exactly what else you would like me to go over. If you are looking at it and have any questions, that might be the best approach. Our bank accounts that we have nice balances on them also, so we'll be starting the year. The big thing is Forward with Christ, the building that we had a great start on, kind of came tumbling down, so we have to start over. Insurance has paid a great deal to us for what we lost. Now we have to start forward, and we have funds for that. Any questions? Go ahead.
Are the LCEF funds, is that a loan account or is that?
No, they're deposits. They're opened accounts. The only one that had anything to do with the loan, which we have never gotten yet, is the escrow account. They've been putting our money into that escrow account and paying the bills as they come in. So we still have a positive in that account also. Any other questions? Please review it at your leisure, and if you have a question, email me or something, and I'll gladly walk you through it. Thank you.
Janet, I've been a member of a Lutheran church now for 59 years, and that is probably the year we went through, that has got to be the easiest treasurer's report I have ever seen. Literally. It is truly amazing. Well, you're on top of things, but just the fact that the giving was so close to original plan with everything going on, expenses slightly under with everything that was going on as well. So all in all, God's plan clearly involved. We need to move on now to elections. Let's start with the elders. Now, if my understanding, in fact, I will let Pastor talk about elders, then we will go into the governing board. Is that fair?
Very simply put, that's in my report as well. We had one term that fulfilled, couldn't run again. That's Thad Ramsey, and I thank him publicly for his service. Also, we had an elder who goes away in the wintertime who stayed away. Ken Weinlater, he moved down to Arizona, I believe Apache Junction, and asked for a transfer and is getting married. So we let him go, I guess. And that's the elders. We reached out to at least 15 different men. Several said no, several said not yet, indicating that they were very interested, but really felt that they wanted to wait until after the COVID had run its course. We did have 2 yeses, one backed away saying, I'm going to go ahead and wait. like the rest. And then the one who did say yes and is standing for election today is Dan Klinkenberg. And even he said he would like a little bit of cushion to let this play out, but is going to join us on our, we've changed from Tuesday mornings twice a month to Tuesday, the third Tuesday of the month meetings in the evening to accommodate some of those who we believe will be coming on board. So that is our one candidate for elder election. Dan Klinkenberg. Dan Klinkenberg.
So we need to officially affirm Dan at this point, since we're not voting multiple choice, we just need to officially vote. Correct. So that will be online as well. So at this point, I'm going to show a show of hands as well that we affirm Dan Klinkenberg as elder, please. Is there anybody that would dispute that? I see none. So we'll give the official 2 minutes here to vote online, but again, I don't see a whole lot of issues there.
It's the third link on the website. Again, it's a simple yes or no. Do you approve, as Pastor has presented, the slate of candidates for elders, yes or no?
Okay, while they're finishing that up, we're going to start moving on with the next step here as well. So, and that is voting for governing board. There are 2 open positions. Michelle Nuring has gone off the board, and Kathy Epley. They've got their eyes set on a number of other ministries here in the church. So we're sad to see them leave, but that also leaves 2 opportunities then for additional governing board members. There are 4 people that have agreed to accept this role. Here. So we've got Brian Carlson. Brian, could you please stand up? I know it's always fun hiding behind a mask, but this is Brian. Dave Limpia, are you here? Dave, okay, he might be on, fair enough. Thad Ramsey, I think you know Thad Ramsey, who went off of elders. Is Thad here? All right, and Chris Ruprecht. Okay, very good. All right, so this is one of those good news, bad news scenarios. We need 2 board members. We've got 4 excellent candidates. So I've already talked to a few of those folks, but those 2 that don't make the governing board this year would strongly consider next year, because every year the voters or the governing board changes. There are 7 elected members, along with officials, Jonathan as the executive here, and pastor as our senior pastor. So there's 9 that serve, but 7 that actually vote. Every year 2 go off, 1 year 3 go off. Yes, sir. Nice. All right, so as you're voting here, it looks like it is official. Yes. So Dan, it is official, you are now an elder. Thank you very much for serving. So in case there's any question, you haven't done it, yes, we are voting for 2 for governing board. From Brian, Dave, Thad, and Chris. Those 4. Or somebody's getting frisky.
Tony, is the governing board, that election also for those online, that is up on your screen, hopefully at home. That's the 4th link. You'll see those 4 names. It will give you an opportunity to choose 2. If you try to choose more, it will say error. But choose 2 and submit, and we'll get those results immediately. The others in-house will count shortly,
yes.
And we'll have those for you very soon.
All right, well, they're working on that. Any reason we can't move on? Yeah, anybody else has not turned in their ballots, please? It looks like we are in. All right, Don, you're fine hands, sir. So Don Church and Kathy Epley are working with Tony to get us a final tally on that. So anyway, we'd like to move on while we're finishing voting on that. Pastor, your pastor report, you've got a number of things to discuss. You are up, sir.
As pastor's coming up, I'll say the various ministry reports, not everyone's going to present today, as we've done in the past, pages 7 through 28 in the annual report, and there's a link online that just is the annual report, or the ministry reports. You can review those at your leisure. Thanks to all who have submitted those for 2020.
If you would turn again to page 7 in your handouts. I have my report there. I'm not going to go through absolutely every word, but I am going to go through most of it. I think that's important. All right. You already heard about the elders. Confirmation update, we have 21 students. It has been interesting. This COVID thing has really goofed it up, trying our best to keep in front of each other, either physically or on Zoom. Wednesday evenings, we will finish the 10 Commandments shortly. Matter of fact, here in a little bit, we have the final examination, moving right into the Apostles' Creed, and then finishing up the year with the Lord's Prayer. We will need to meet during Lent as well to make up for the dates canceled because of earlier school closures. Confirmation Sunday remains May 2nd, and unless there's another outbreak, we plan on having that on site, late service. Leadership class update, Steve Epley's program that he put together. We'll have another. We're starting new ministries, and strengthening existing ministries is really at the heart of this, like Sunday school, music, and volunteer ministries. And then the next one, we have Pastor Ballvance really spearheaded this, come up with the idea of replacing some of those, 37,000 trees that got knocked over and probably losing more in the spring. Spring Tree Planting Initiative. What's the name of the organization, Pastor Ballvance, that you're working with? Trees Forever, is that right? Trees Forever out of all places, Marion, which could use some tree planting, starting in my backyard. But again, thank you to Jason and the disaster relief crew. Just fabulous, off-the-charts work, for sure, and deeply appreciated. Another thing that will be started and dealt with in this class is a gardening initiative. This is to encourage families of our congregation to plant their own gardens and perhaps to reintroduce a garden on our site, appreciating those who did that initially, and with we think an increased need, especially among some of the folks that have been marginalized even further. And then our upcoming partnership, Realize, with Marion Cares, both providing goods through private gardens and community garden here on site. That's another idea that we hope to funnel through the leadership class. Marion Outreach Update. We are looking at a spring restart. The owner of the old St. Joseph's Church facility is still working with the insurance company and also vendors, suppliers, I should say, workers to come and do that work. The line is long. The line is long. Have had difficulty doing that. But we hear good things. We're making some progress there, time-wise. Okay? Outgoing governing board member, I want to echo what Steve said and share a heartfelt thank you to Kathy Epley and Michelle Nearing for their service on the governing board. You will be missed. And I want to share a special thank you. She didn't know I was going to do this, but to Janet Prophet, who has faithfully served on the board many years. This is her last year of her term, and will be finished, and she cannot run for re-election. Janet is what pastors call a super volunteer. I don't think that's any secret here at the church. I'm very cautious. Matter of fact, this is the first time I've done this, ever, in 35 years of being a pastor, where I've called out a person in particular. But her efforts have been exceptional. That says it all. Thank you. And again, thank everybody who serves and volunteers. It is deeply appreciated, even though I recognize that is certainly one of my weaknesses in not being as affirming as I could and should be. Here is a current list of nominees. You already know that. And I want to go down to a request from Synod that I'll address a little bit more, but it's a real simple one to push back our district convention and then our synodical convention and the other local things that we do as well there. Let's see, did I miss anything? Nope, I think that's the main stuff I wanted to cover. And am I going to be doing the, I don't have my agenda in front of me, because I think I just continue. Yeah, okay. Well, let's go ahead and do the synodical. It's real simple, as I said earlier. Out of the synodical headquarters in St. Louis, they have asked us to please push it back so that people can come, especially our saltwater districts that have been hit so hard by COVID. They cannot gather together. They physically cannot, not allowed, against the governor's laws that are in those states. And so they're asking so that we can continue to walk together in a good way as a synod, that those be delayed. So it's as simple as that. And it's a yes or a no.
We have to officially do that. Interestingly enough,
Oh.
pastoral staff cannot
No.
vote. It has to be congregational members.
Clergy cannot do this.
So the governing board has made a recommendation. We did this in total, that we do delay this by a year. So the governing board is making that recognition. I need a second, please. All right, we've got a second up here with Susan. So that I can't imagine there's any other discussion, correct? Good answer.
I will just reference the letter from Synod, and maybe you've seen it. It's a 3-page letter if you're really interested. Pages
I'll read it to
41
you.
through 43.
Please don't.
Page 41 to 43. Second to the last page, it's highlighted the actual proposal. It's number 6 on your links online. We're a little audible here and out of order, but number 6, I believe, out of the 7 links. It'll be a simple yes or no vote.
But we do need to be official. So we've had a
you wanna
little
read it.
discussion. I am no. Where?
Well, just the
Oh, shall the
highlighted.
Senate add a year to the current 2019 to 22 triennium, allowing districts to hold their conventions in either 2021 or 2022, and then moving the upcoming synodical national convention from 22 to 2023. So that's the official language that we've already made the motion, seconded. I can't imagine there's any other discussion. I'd like to see a show of hands that and a show of hands means yes, that we're approving that.
And vote online,
Are there
please.
any no's? This is a pretty easy one, so everybody understands what's happening nationally. We make it, online is doing this as well to make it official, and then we can submit that to district and then do synod. All right, here are the tallies for this, for the governing board was just put in my fine hands. Now, I'm going to say before I mention these two that we had 4 excellent candidates, and I'm hoping the 2 that are not on this year would strongly consider for next year, because at this point in time, based on what we saw in the running, I would almost be willing to take our governing board up to 9. It's such good hands. So anyway, Brian Carlson, Thad Ramsey, you are now on the governing board. We'll get you details as far as when that starts. And many, many thanks to Dave and to Chris for volunteering, and I would hope those 2 would strongly consider next year, because we would love to have you as well. So Brian, Thad, congratulations.
Okay, good job. I do want to say, and this is not in the printed report, that as far as strategic plans and goals and areas of ministry focus, what I proposed last year, let's finish this year. And that really comes down to, at the heart of it, the expansion and all that was entailed in that with office space and adult education, Christian education, really taking a very serious look at an early childhood center. And that's the very heart of it. Bible study, Bible study, Bible study, especially increasing that space. And new digs for our children's ministry and repurposing a lot of the existing space. We'll deal with the whole prospect of remodeling later. We want to see where we are financially at that time. So, but that's the intent, to do that as well. So I don't have much of anything else, anything that you want me to address. Any questions? I do have the Early Childhood Center that I want to speak to you about based upon this document that I have. But anything else before I do that?
This is for Pastor at this point. Easy group today, wow. Is there anything online as well? All right, they're shaking your.
Just a couple of kudos thanking Janet for her time.
Excellent.
Yes, rightfully so.
And I will second that because Janet unfortunately has to work with me on a regular basis. I talk to Janet, 2, 3, 4 times a week discussing finances and getting bills paid. So Janet, many, many thanks. I'm sure she's tired of hearing me. I call her home and here on a regular basis. So.
All right, well, the last thing I want to really address is the Early Childhood Center. We have, as I'm sure many of you know, been dealing with this for 5 years. I think we brought in where's Carla? Carla, when did we have the lady from California come in? That was at least 5 years ago. So we have in earnest been looking at this as a possibility for 5 years. And all we're trying to do is keep moving the communication down the line, making sure that you're up to date on the latest considerations. And so I am going to present a summary of this document right here with the green. I'm sorry. No, there's another. Oh, here it is. Small Beginnings. This is a document put together by tell me your last name again. Gemtrude, Stephanie Gemtrude. She is the early childhood leader coordinator over at Trinity Lutheran. She was at Helping Hands preschool before that. And we asked if she would take a good look at our area, potential prospect costs, all the enormous details that go into something like this. And this is a document that, this is it. We didn't cut anything out. And I encourage all of you to take a copy and take it home and read over it. It'll do a much better job than I could do as far as explaining the details, the minutia of what is involved with something like this. And I want to continue to do this because at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to have to make a decision as a congregation. Do we go forward or not? Go or no go with equipping that facility that we lost the initial building on when it's being finished up, to do so in a way that either reflects a yes or a no vote on the Early Childhood Center. So this is continued ongoing education as to what is involved with that. So I am working off of a handout entitled King of Kings Early Childhood Center Report, which is really just a series of bullet points along the lines of highlighting where we are. Mission. This is a mission outreach opportunity, especially aimed at younger families and families outside of our current church body. It fits well with the overall vision that has been articulated and approved by the congregation for better than 10 years. It's an opportunity to instill the love of Jesus in young minds on a daily basis, 5 days a week. And it provides opportunity to use our new facilities on a daily basis, not just on Sundays or Wednesdays and other times, but more regularly. Note that not every congregational member may be enamored, and we realize this, with every mission in the church, but we do ultimately support them all and would hope that attitude would be the same here, as we are open-minded about at least learning what it would look like and what would all be involved. And then at a later date that we all agree on, put it to a vote. Facility design, DHS, Department of Human Services, has been involved, been contacted, is aware, and asked us how soon we could start because the need, the public need, is great. There is a great and an increasing public need that you'll learn more about, especially if you read the document. The fire department has been consulted as well, so we would meet all the requirements that they demand of us, as well as the state, DHS, and designed with intent to house multiple ongoing programs, of course, the heart of it being Sunday school, children's ministry as it exists and we believe will flourish into the future, daycare youth, with lots of storage. Amen? Oh, amen. Then there's cost, expense to the church. Cost projections show high likelihood of being revenue neutral or even more likely being revenue positive. I'm careful to use the phrase not for profit because we're not in this to make money to stuff our accounts, but to keep it at a healthy level so that we can pour money back into it to upgrade. The church that I'm most familiar with is down in Bettendorf, and they literally pour everything that they make in this ministry back into facilities and staffing and in a very, very, very healthy, transparent way. It's not a money-making venture, and if it does make money, it goes right back in. And it's part of our hope and strategy, if we do this, to keep the cost down as much as possible for the family and families who would use this facility. So that, I believe, would give us a bit of an advantage over for-profit organizations that are very much for profit. They have perhaps stockholders or at least shareholders who are interested in making money off of a venture like this. We see it overwhelmingly as a mission and ministry, and as I have said so often, I cannot think, and I'm, as you know, very much in favor of this, and I cannot think of something that we can build that would get the community out there in here where we could tell their children 5 days a week about Jesus Christ. That to me is the very crown, the very heart of this. Let's see, expense to the church. Cost projections show long-term risk. Next one, to church. There is no long-term risk to church since we already own the building. We wouldn't be in danger of losing it. To continue the program, if for some reason it does not work out, we'll still have a very nice children's ministry wing that we'll have and use. Have the facility anyway, might as well use it. There is some additional facility costs for sure, such as increased utilities, but most of those are factored in. Janitorial, custodial is also somewhat higher, but not substantially, since program employees do much of the cleaning as part of their jobs. And this is something you see when you interview other organizations that do have early childhood care or continuing ed. Employees, full-time employees, would have benefits, health and pension, making it easier to get good, reliable workers. And we understand that's an issue. And we want to make sure it's not as much as possible from our end of things. Let's see, opportunity for employees, for members, also for volunteers. I've had this vision of an early childhood center, and back when I was in Minnesota, coupled with a retirement community back in the day when LCEF was still doing early work and grant money for retirement communities, to have these two blended and have a causeway between the two buildings so that those who were healthier and younger and more lively could go over to the children in the early childhood wing and be interactive. I don't know if the second part of that will ever happen here, but you don't have to live here in order to do that. You can still come and be part of that if we do pass that, and it does happen. Planning, daycare. Idea is not new, as I said earlier, and was affirmed. Various groups in the church have been investigating this for over 5 years. Next page. Lots of due diligence directed from several governing boards over the last 5 years, including at least a dozen site visits to other programs, Lutheran and non-Lutheran, and public programs. By the way, we are not interested in accepting government money, so we wouldn't have to worry about any kind of compliance that would not allow us to share the gospel of Jesus Christ whenever we wanted to. So that's not on the ticket. Number two, two different consultants hired to analyze opportunity and possibilities of such a program at our church. Many interviews with other program directors and local experts in the field, and then cost and business plan analysis has been extensively reviewed and is in that document. The actuals, the finances are there if you want to take a real good, very thorough look. Note, there are always more good ideas out there. We want to hear them. Please bring them to a governing board member. Partnership opportunity with fellow Lutheran churches to work closer in fellowship with other Lutherans. Draw on existing expertise of other programs like Trinity Lutheran School. The goal is not to be in competition with other Lutheran programs, but in partnership. We are aware that there has been some concern expressed at Little Lamb's preschool. While there are some areas that we will bump into them, this is a much more comprehensive program than they currently have over there, okay? So we're aware. But stopping or starting, in the end, will be decided by us as we feel led by the Lord. Need, why now? There has been a dire need for additional daycare facilities in the Cedar Rapids area for some time now. The COVID pandemic we are currently in has brought the problem into sharper focus and has accelerated the need, which is a big reason for pushing this now. Timing, and there's some good numbers on that in this document. It's stunning. It's staggering when you see the raw data of how many of the, especially the ma-pa in-house daycare has dropped dramatically. Last I heard it was a third, and it's probably worse since the last I heard. And there you have it. Some of the needed, timing. We would need approximately 6 months to get the program running after a go vote. No point doing that until we have a better idea when the facility might be finished. And as you know, there's variables in there. We ran into the biggest variable I've ever seen in my life last August. This also gives an opportunity to the congregation to help fine-tune such a program before we get to a vote. Bring some ideas to a board member now. Some of the needed items to run a program that start after a go vote: interview and hire a program director. That everybody we've listened to, talked to, heard from has said this is your number one first step. Secondly, writing program manuals and materials, employee manuals, employee interviews and hiring, equipment purchase, program promotion, and of course, Department of Health Services, Human Services coordination and inspections. And I'm sure we would ask the fire station folks to come in and check us every once in a while as well. Read the document. It's worth a read. Okay? And again, we know not everybody's on board. That's understandable. So that's it from here. I'm not the expert on this. I see myself more as a cheerleader who firmly believes in it. Firmly. Anybody? Whoa. There you
Mike's coming behind you, Ken.
Is there any level of external control or approval required of the curriculum for this daycare center,
No.
other than advising, or will the curriculum be developed totally from within the congregation itself?
Well, developed is a big word. I would say that there'd be a lot of existing Christ-centered
Correct.
biblical resources that we
Okay.
would bring to bear. So the answer to your question in one word is no.
Okay.
We're in charge. And that is because we would not be taking any government subsidy.
Thank you.
Okay, you see enough of me up front. I'm going to go sit down.
Well, before you sit
Oh,
down,
yeah,
the
one more.
2021 ministry, are we just basically pushing 2020s out?
Yep. That's it in a nutshell. We're pushing 2021 out.
What page is that list on, Pastor?
Oh, I can't remember. Jonathan, I didn't put this together.
Just, I would say, take 1 minute and take a look at those.
Yeah, can anybody help me? know they're in here. Turn them in. They had to do with, I could tell you real quick, family altar, encouraging and equipping families. And the resource, the number one resource we encouraged was the Right Now media, which I know several families use on a regular basis, and I'm very grateful for. I don't know where that got put. Anybody find that? That's crazy.
I just included what you had in your report.
Yeah,
so
I
didn't-
apologize for that. And then there was also, of course, the Early Childhood Center. There was the Marion Outreach as well. The whole building project, that was huge. And then the really encouraging a more attention, focus on the music ministry, which Gordon has brought to bear. Again, encouraging the children's ministry, coming alongside of that. Those were the heart of it. And I apologize that that is not in here. So we'll be sending out an electronic document to everybody in the church that highlights that.
There are a
Anybody
number of other ministry reports in there as well, and many of those are growing dramatically. Jason, he and I have had many talks as well, a lot with everything that's been happening there. There was how do you say that, thrust upon you in August? So that is definitely changing a look at how that aspect works. So there's going to be a lot coming in that regard as well. But please look at those ministry reports. There are a lot of neat things happening. Unfortunately, with not as many people in the building, it's not always as visible, but there is a lot still happening, and hopefully going forward, it's just going to explode as we come back, doing more face-to-face stuff.
One more thing I want to comment on, the African ministry. I think you'd all be interested in an update, correct?
Please.
It's not going very well. And largely it's not going very well because of this pandemic. We have had a whole bunch of the Africans move away to other cities, other states. And Pierre and Alex, I know they're trying hard. They're not being able to come on site is hard for them. They do meet at homes, but even that's restricted, and they're trying to honor that. When they travel, for example, if they were to go to Tama, to the meatpacking plant, or even to the cardboard factory over here, box factory, they oftentimes drive together. And so there has been a fairly high COVID impact on that community. So it's been frustrating for them. We have had some leadership issues, not with the two men who are still on site, but I'll be direct with you. There's this thing that I did not understand when we embraced the African ministry, and this whole thing about leadership and being recognized and having a high level of position and pay across the board. At one time, we were paying 4 different people the same amount, where we had been paying Pierre more as a director. That caused a lot of problems. A lot of problems. This whole thing with status and face, as you've heard it explained, of I need to be recognized. And then there's the underlying division that comes all the way from Africa to here, of civil war. I don't know if you're aware, I've shared this before, but our civil war resulted in the death of 620 Americans in the 1850s, or 1860s, 60 to 65. Here in the Congo, or there in the Congo, they have had a civil war that started in the early 90s that still has spurts and outbreaks. 5.2 million dead. And if you want to get a picture of it, watch the movie Hotel Rwanda. And you will get a graphic image of what that looks like and the divisions that exist and that they carry over. Over there, they kill each other. And it's tough. It's really tough. So, yes.
You mentioned the meeting on site doesn't work.
Oh, it's been hit and miss.
Hit and miss?
Yeah,
Okay.
mostly along the lines of when we shut down, they shut down. And they seem to be a little slower on coming back
Okay.
for internal reasons.
I didn't know if there was something that we could do to help facilitate gatherings, or fearless leader over there, is there something that the church can help beyond to help
Yeah,
encourage?
Pierre, do you want to, take the microphone.
I, on behalf of African Ministry and leaders member, thanks for our pastors and King of King Lutheran community for the support, financial and spiritual. We had a hard, bad year, 2020, since COVID-19 spread, and many precautions were taken. People stay home. And many members, they were afraid to come to gathering anymore because we had in our community, many people passed away, and we had several African church was closed by the police because gathering, and so that we were affected by the, but anyway, we just planning to visit a home. We had a home visit according to their schedule because they work to different schedule, and that would be best if you can help support as well as they did, and Andrea Hapo and his husband, and many people as a Boyd Kaiser, pastors, and anywhere can volunteer to support us, visit each family for comfort them, because being 1 year home, there was many step back. They just did a step back into spiritually, so we're gonna need a support and for leader to increase again to our faith, and pray for us, our ministry, because we have, as I say, we have many challenge from back home affect our hearts, so we need to bring back together in Christ. Thank you.
I think Pierre could echo that. I know he can. There were numerous African ministries in our Greater Cedar Rapids community. They have all of them been just decimated. The largest was Sabaranzi's church, and they'd get 85. It's gone. It does not exist anymore. And that was the healthiest one.
So then those people who used to worship in those other churches, maybe this is God's way of having us pick up to serve them.
Could be.
One other thing I noted we were talking about ministry reports, I was looking at the disaster response down the last part. They're talking about the truck. The need for on the disaster.
That's not in my scope.
Okay, all right.
The guy right over there.
Yeah. Did you want to? I saw
that'll be coming up, I believe. Is that correct?
It is. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I just saw there was a need there for a truck. I didn't know if that would need to be addressed. Okay.
Okay.
Pastor, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And Greg, yes, you were right. There are a number of needs there, and we've got a certain disaster team leader that's putting a whole list of wants, needs, and plans together. That will be addressed to the church at a later date in one shot. So Pastor, thank you very much. Kathy, who is our paperwork guru, thank you, found the ministry focus. If you take a look at page 2 of last year's minutes, pastoral report, it says the areas of focus. Those 2020 proposed areas of ministry focus are being pushed basically to this year. So when we said we couldn't, that's where they are listed and printed there. So we'll be voting those officially with the budget. And Jonathan, we're going to pull you up. Talking about somebody who's had to adjust at real time. The pandemic, I know, having to make all kind of real-time changes here. The day-to-day stuff, the man of the hour, Jonathan.
I've got one here, thanks to Pastor Bolvance's mic. So, all right, need a stretch? You all right? We're in the home stretch here, I believe. But thank you again all for being here, and hopefully online they're still all going. We're going to transition. Let me say a word about Forward with Christ. Again, this year we've been richly blessed. I say that every year, but this has been unique in 2020. But you, the people, continued to step forward with gifts. Our online giving saw a pretty significant increase in usage and thankful for that. I think those that have used that for the first time are finding that a safe, convenient, concurrent way to recurrent way to do that. Also, a number of special giving funds, whether it was disaster response, a whole variety of things that pop up from time to time, and we're able to add those through our website as well. So Forward with Christ, there are some numbers and things in my church administrator report, pages 9 and 10, specifically in the middle of page 10 in your printed report. You'll see some numbers there with the Forward with Christ update. You can look through all those. We had partnered and have partnered with LCEF, with Laborers for Christ, who is an extension of that. If you haven't heard, Laborers for Christ is actually coming to an end, but we are one of, I believe it's 5 projects that were already in the pipeline that they're continuing, and so been in continued contact with our project coordinators through Laborers for Christ. They're basically doing the framing construction, which we'd started, and it went really well for a week, and you know where we're at now. But the plan is to resurrect, if you will, that part of our building project April 1st, give or take, depending on the weather. But we're all in good shape. City of Robbins, our local contractors that we're working with, we continue in good shape with all of them. Financially, you can see the numbers. We recently, just as of the end of the year, went over $1 million in gifts to Forward with Christ. Now that goes back even before we officially called it Forward with Christ. People continued to give after we finished our Onward in Faith campaign to pay off our debt. And so we started with some pretty good momentum already when we started this a year ago, December of 2019. So you can see a number of numbers and charts in there, but basically we're raring to go to start that again. And thank you for your continued gifts, pledges. We've had some new pledges, new interest, I would say, and numbers. A couple of folks have said, we'll, because of the interim and the changes, consider doing a 4th-year pledge. Some have actually done that. Some have said, we're considering that, just for your information as well. So that's really kind of in a nutshell where Forward with Christ, our building campaign, is at. Any thoughts, comments, questions for the building portion of that? Or online as well. Yes, yeah, they're good relationship, and with all of our mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all those specialties, we do hire local contractors, and that's worked really well. The Laborers for Christ, like I said, are mainly with the framing, the wood and nails part of it, so that will be, they'll be coming back. And the RV sites, I know that's referenced in there as well. The Lord knew better than we did, certainly, as always. But we thought we'd just be utilizing those for some Laborers for Christ volunteers, which worked very well. We also then housed a number of people from around the country for disaster response as well. So what a blessing that was. Online comment?
I have an online question.
Please.
Is the currently approved building plan fully funded?
We are not fully funded at this point, no. 3-year pledges that started December of 19 again. So you can see where we're at, a little over $1 million with about 1.8 to 1.9 pledged. So a little over halfway there in pledges. So not fully funded. We have not taken out, I know there was a question about LCEF. We do not have a loan currently. We are debt-free. We still have $430,000 to $480,000 in funds that we have received that are specific to Forward with Christ, and that continues to fluctuate as we either have expenses, but as gifts continue to come in. So the short answer to that is no, but we continue in that pledge and giving up until December of '22. Yes, Danny.
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
And maybe I am getting a little specific, but I
Fire away.
just like to know, first of all, the $1.8 million that you've collected so far, that says total gifts received, is that include the 255?
It does.
Okay. So if you take that away from the $1.8 million, you get 753.
Correct.
And so that's the number that you should look at against the total pledges of $1,612,000. So basically, we have $900,000 still to be collected.
Correct.
Okay. And what's there, one more or 2 more years?
Yeah, so we just, December, last month, we hit the 1 year of the 3. So we have just short of 2 years left in
Oh,
our pledge
okay.
campaign.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as mentioned, a few donors have considered a 4th year addition to the pledge as well. So good point, Danny. And we did have a lot of discussion. That was unique, that we did have gifts, and some of those are part of a pledge, some were not. It's hard to distinguish of that 255,000 in the end of that first line in my Forward with Christ update, gifts received prior to the start of the actual campaign. That is in there as well. Good point. Thank you. Greg.
How far can we go on the building work before we do have to start incurring debt?
How far, if you didn't hear, how far can we go until we start incurring debt? Until that, what we have in hand is used. So we have 480,000 as of today.
For the total project, he asked.
Yeah, it'll just be at that tipping point again, though. But the total project, we figure, is in around the 2.2 million. So our pledges right now are short of the actual what we believe that will be. That includes, however, 250 to 300,000 that was budgeted as far as remodeling current space. As Pastor mentioned earlier, obviously when we move things into it's 12,600 square foot addition that will move youth, children's ministry, and some of those. And with our current facility, for those of you either that haven't heard or just a reminder, like the Heartland room, we've been starting to transition our larger classroom in the current children's ministry. Simply that, adult Bible study and other needs for a larger room. Classroom, what we call Classroom 3, which is across from the restrooms. If you haven't toured this, we gladly would show you, is kind of a complete remodel, probably a library, life groups, office, and that area. What I'll call the north side, as I'm looking back there to the right, which includes nursery and 3 different classrooms, is currently slotted to turn into music and a couple of different office areas as well. So some of that remodel cost is in there. And Steve, you have something to add to that?
Well, I was going to say, Greg, I think one of the things you're asking is we've paid for the really big items, earth moving, concrete. The lion's share of the concrete is done. There's a few more footings that have to be poured, and there's a few sidewalks, but for the most part, that's, I mean, I hate to say child's play, but in the scheme of what we spent, it's pretty minor. A lot of the big money with the electrical and the plumbing, getting that all in the ground, that stuff is all done and paid for as well. So how far can we get? I mean, to be blunt, if you wanted to not borrow a dime, you could get the whole shell up and we can get the majority of this thing, probably not fully operating, but we could get a building. But the idea is to finish it. As far as expenses, lumber is going to cost more. We know that. We don't know how much more. We're going to start getting that bid. The longer we wait, the cheaper it's get. It is falling, just not very fast. We ordered the last year's lumber package before all the run-up in costs, and so that was perfect timing. So there will be some additional dollars there. Overall, the budget, we were under budget pretty much in every category going into this thing. So as we get this thing rebid the next month, Greg, I can give you a better answer. I think we're going to be closer to our original budget. We initially thought we would be under. Right now, I don't think that's going to happen. But we also don't have to, we had several $100,000, as you mentioned, was allowed for here, remodel there, that does not have to be spent at this time. So we've got some flexibility. Oops.
Rob?
Just curious, is the insurance money we receive back from the insurance company in these reports somewhere, or is that in a different account?
Good question. It's the question is in the insurance money, and let me just briefly address that. As far as the damage that we received from the storm, a little bit of that is in the report, not probably all the dollars of that. It is in a dedicated fund, to answer your question, Rob. Anything that we've received from insurance, continue to work with them here and probably at home, as many of you are as well. Our schedule, the garage has been fixed of current structures. The storage garage lost a good portion of the roof. That's been fixed. As you can see around the building, a lot of fascia and soffit damage. I think 2 out of 9 contractors that we had reached out at various times, as you know, we have so many people that need the repairs. So we do have a contract with Darnell Construction, who is going to do it sometime in the spring, and I continue to be in touch with them as far as current structure. And we've received good bids and funding on that. As far as any of the destruction that happened with the new facility, continue to work with insurance. We're pretty good on those. We've received a little over $40,000 in insurance monies at this point. But even at a recent bill that just came last week that would have been additional from Colony Plumbing, for example, that repairs that were needed because of the storm damage. So it's ongoing, but I'm confident we have good information and following through with all those. Does that answer that question? Yeah. And all the money is in a dedicated account that is related to the insurance. So thank you. I wanted to touch base on that anyway, of where we stood with repairs and that. So that'll be ongoing. I'd like to transition to budget. And if you would look, pages 29 through 40. If you've joined us before, this is a similar format to what we've used. And so pages 29 through 40. And again, if you're not necessarily a numbers person, there's a lot of things to look and a lot of lines. Most of those are repeats, kind of like what Pastor has shared, you know, carrying over those goals and information from last year. We purposely sought to be a little more conservative. Again, we were blessed that our income from last year, maybe I have the number, just over 94% of actual income pledged was received. Expenses were held at just short of 88%. So, good commendation to, I'd say, staff, leaders, and others, certainly from holding the expense side, to certainly you and all the givers from being very generous again as well. So we've purposely, not knowing the duration of COVID and when we're fully back to meeting in person and no social distancing, no masks, all that sort of thing. So the 2021 operating budget is, especially on the expense side, certain things that we tried to reflect as closely as possible. Some of the 2020 actuals, which I was just able to finally put in, obviously, this last week. I know we've had numbers out there in this proposed budget, I think, since December 11th online. Not sure who's had a chance to look at that or not. Updated the actuals, and only a couple of slight variances in the 2021 actual budget numbers. So maybe rather than going line by line, there really aren't any new line items for this coming year. I can talk about pledges and income in a moment as well, but Denny. Say that again, I didn't hear the last part.
In these numbers, did you access a PPE loan?
Did not. No PPE loan.
We could have.
We could have, and it was discussed, yeah, by leaders and the governing board. At the time that came out in, maybe April or May, maybe it was March even, I don't remember. In the spring, we did have an active discussion about that with the governing board, and deciding we were, at that point, thankfully well in the black, which we were in the black all through the year, especially thankful for some larger gifts at the beginning of last year that continued to carry us through. But like Janet said, I'd have to look, I want to say 8 or 9 maybe, 9 of the months out of the year we were in the black. So, and then finished the year at 55,000 plus in the black. So do not have any loans. So maybe rather than going through every specific line item, maybe if the governing board, on behalf of the governing board, if you want to make a motion and get
So
a
that's what
second,
I'd
then we
like to
can
do.
have
The governing
discussion.
board is proposing that we accept the budget as proposed. I will need a second for that, please. All right, Steve Epley has seconded that. So now we can discuss it. So if you got any questions, this is the man right here. I know that I've personally done budget numbers in the past for trying to figure out income, and we had our interesting formulas that worked. We never knew why. You had your hands full this year, is all I can say, trying to get this figured out what next year is going to look like. So I have to give you credit.
Well, again, I always think as you approach that every year, oh, this is going to be the most challenging budget, and then the next year comes around. Yeah, and this certainly was. I will say, though, on the top of page 10 in my report, you'll see just a very basic graph, again, of the pledge year, number of pledges, pledged amount, and then what was actually received. We've, over the last few years, you can see the kind of trends and different things. Of the 135 pledges for the 2021 year, 109 of those were actual pledge cards, the green cards that many of you have turned in. If you haven't, I'll still receive them. And 26 are, the majority of those 26 that either didn't turn in a pledge card but are in the Simply Giving or online giving. I extrapolated and pulled those numbers as well, and that's where you get that pledged amount of the 622. There was also actual giving, as we do every year, for a variety of reasons. For those who don't pledge, there was 190,000. I could give you the exact figure. It's over in my file there. And with that is where we come up with our income side. That's certainly prayed over and looked at from a variety of things. So you'll see the budget numbers just over 800,000 plus some plate giving. And so the proposal is for 823,750 with the income, 823,397 to the expense side, which gives us a slim margin there. So
We did discuss.
that's the proposal.
What about salaries? We talked about salaries.
Salaries are being held. The staff, again, I will say a huge kudos and thankfulness to the staff. As you can see in my report, last year we had a couple of changes, as we often do. Becky Garms had been our life groups coordinator, and she had already planned, even before last year, to be stepping aside. And Jeff Gleason, the same, as far as our technology director. We did not replace those positions, and we haven't to this point. It's kind of been assimilated within current staff, as happens all over the place, and the staff has done a great job with that. In fact, Ann Mueller is stepping into that, and already had been doing, but officially now, stepping into our life group coordinator position and working directly with pastors. Technology, we've kind of assimilated, and we were pretty well set, certainly from a hardware perspective and software, but and we do still have a third party we consult with and use as needed, but thankfully we're solving majority of things in-house. And so those are kind of the staffing things, but yeah, no raises are reflected in this budget proposal.
But the board did discuss to look at that July mid-year to see how budget was. So the board decided to leave that option open here mid part of the year, so that will be reevaluated if the budget is holding in place and growing. We reserve the right to be able to get those raises because we did not feel good. Did not want to cut anything, but we for sure wanted to hold them. But we really liked the idea of getting a raise in place. So the idea was to reevaluate middle of the year. And the Lord continues to bless us that we can get a raise involved there. So that was the tentative plan.
I know I speak on behalf of the staff to say thank you for the care you give to all of us. So,
Other
specific
questions,
thoughts
please,
or comments on
comments?
budget?
Rob?
Rob?
It's okay, I got it.
or any online, please submit those in the chat box once again.
Just as a gentle reminder, and I see this in my profession all the time, and I know a few of us have already been doing this, but as the market has made new highs, thank goodness, we're seeing the qualified charitable distributions for those in those required minimum distribution years. It's an effective tool. You can give, and it doesn't affect you as it relates to the annual exclusion, not the annual exclusion, it relates to the standard deduction. So work with your CPA on that. Also, if you have securities which have made new highs, especially if they are over 12 months, it's a great way to give that instead of out of your own budget. So I would ask you to just touch base with Jonathan or your financial advisor for any options that may be considered for you.
And thank you very much for that financial commercial. We'll take it. So,
And we do have a number of folks that take advantage of those, so thank you.
it's been a good year to do it. So, yeah, Rob is not wrong. So, any other questions?
Andrea?
This is regarding the life groups coordinator
Yes.
position. Was that a part-time position in the past?
Yes, yes, part-time.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
the church admin, like role by Ann, is that a full-time or part-time?
The office manager?
Office manager,
Yep,
sorry.
that one is full-time, and we've joined those, yes. Yeah.
Is there,
duties.
is there a plan later to have a life groups coordinator position reopen?
Yes, again, we've talked about, again, as Steve mentioned, and the governing board discussed that again recently, giving a 6-month window right now as up until, July 1.
Okay.
And we'll revisit that, yes.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
You're welcome. Good question.
Other questions or comments? All right. Well, if there are none other, then I would like to call.
None online? No comments? Thank
I
you.
see heads shaking. All right, sounds good. All right, so then all those in favor of accepting the budget as proposed, I need a hand in the air, please.
It's link number 5, if you're
Thank you.
online, link
and
number 5.
any no votes, a hand in the air as well. Okay, let the record show that was all 100% approval there. So we'll let them be officially as they get to vote that, to make that official. Jonathan, anything else from you, sir? And by the way, I want to thank you because I'll be blunt. I've done the budget stuff in the past, and it's a lot of work this year. You really had your hands full trying to analyze data and get that all figured out. And from what I've seen, fabulous job. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then the last thing here, we've got to change the Constitution for a little issue as far as how budget changes allow. And it basically came down to the, in fact, do you want to explain that one, how that came to be? I'll let you, since you're probably closer to it than I am.
Sure. The final item on our agenda, as you can see back to page 1, proposal for change to the Constitution and bylaws. The wording is at the bottom of your agenda. If you'll recall, some of you may have been in attendance 2 years ago. This was changed, and as you can see there at the very bottom, the former wording was stricken from our Constitution bylaws January 13th of 2019, and because of how it was worded, you'll see the new wording, specifically what's underlined and in bold, that new proposed wording right above it. So the new and proposed wording to add back in what we're bringing to the voters today: expenditures for boards, committees, ministry teams, mission teams, or staff exceeding the greater of 10% or $5,000 of the approved annual budget for said board, committee, ministry team, mission team, or staff member. If it exceeds that, then it would need voters' approval. Is what this would change it back to. Yeah, and at the bottom of the very page, same page there, many of them are present. Robert Kibbe, Will Hartney, Corey Nearing, and Kathy Epley were assembled as a team and were interested in that, and thank you. Again, that was a little while back. We had thought to bring this last year, and had failed to get it out in front of the voters in a timely fashion, so I wanted to bring this back again. I think it just, again, brings a little tighter control. I believe, I'm thankful of the word transparent was used before. I think Pastor talked about that. I believe our finances, we can go to many places and say, here's where every penny that has come in, where it is, and every penny that goes out as well. I think we have a good system in place. This, I think, just augments that as well. So
we're probably
Thoughts,
explaining
comments?
this a little bit too early. I guess I didn't officially. The board has proposed that we go with this, the change as is. I didn't officially get a second, so we did the discussion ahead of time. Oh. So, yeah, we'll discuss that in a second. So I need a second to change the Constitution. Oh, Robert. All right, made and seconded. We've already had a discussion. Any other questions? Say, Greg? Okay. This, I think, just as straightforward. It's kind of a little thing that kind of trapped a few folks. We didn't think about the percentages and small line items. This makes a little bit more sense as far as any changes to the budget. So all those in favor, I need a right hand up, please. I guess left hand works. Any no votes, please? All right, online will officially do the voting as well, but it looks like that passed.
that was the ministry budget and goals. It's link number 7, the last link at the bottom of the list. So if you're online and would link number 7, the final one, yes or no vote.
And this is a little after the fact, but I did see that there was one no vote on the budget. I did not see, was there an online question? Maybe the person that did that could give an online question, we could address that. So just to be curious what their issue was. So anyway.
Yeah, and if anything arises, well, we're in the middle of a vote.
No, I think we're there. It's approved. So.
Well, online.
Oh, I'm
but
with you
yeah.
another minute.
I would say if there's any follow-up from this meeting, this is posted. We'll probably be removing the link under the events tab, and it'll all be under the members section, as there's many other, if you're not aware, reports from previous years as well, and a variety of things. Utilize that resource, but if you want copies or have questions of any of this, speak to whether the board, Pastor, Janet, myself, any of the staff, you're welcome to do so.
Jonathan, thank you. I guess this is just a thank you for coming and your online voting. This is brand new to us. We'll have to just see how that worked, maybe get some comments. But all in all, I think a great first try at this. So the Lord continues to bless. It has been quite the year 2020, but Lord willing, we can start to see things open up here going forward. So many thanks for everybody showing up. Could we please rise, and we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. Oops.
Have us sing the doxology, then say the Lord's Prayer.
I'll let you lead.
Would you please?